Hey, welcome back to another Lieutenant Cooper training in your computer. Today we're covering Granite Gorge. I made this PowerPoint back in 2016 when I worked there as a ski patroller, and we went there last week and did a tour. So we've updated the training, and it's under new ownership. So there's a lot of important things to cover, whether you've been there, worked there, or not. There's a lot of new things to cover. Some people have probably never been up there at all, and there's a lot of interesting things, a lot of different things, and good to know things that can help you do much better when you respond up there. So let's get started. So here's a quick little map of the mountain. 341 New Hampshire Route 9 will come up on your CAD, and parking area, bridge, mountain, trails, lodge, and we'll cover that in a few minutes as well, the better layout of it and all the different trails. Um, Granite Gorge's operations. Typically, there'll be a few people inside the base lodge. If you show up and there's no one meeting you, that's where you'd go inside the base lodge to find someone. Employees may be scattered all over the mountain, but they can get a hold of one another with the radios that they have. Um, so there typically will be 1 to 2 lift operators at the bottom at the loading station. There'll be a lift operator at the top of the mountain if the lift is spinning to unload people. And there should be an operator at the top of the tubing hill, the bottom of the bunny hill, and at the top of the magic carpet. And we'll cover those areas in a minute. Uh, nice to know things about Granite Gorge. Granite Gorge now has good communications among its workers. Like I said, they actually have good radios. Back when I worked there, you use your cell phone to talk to people. So they've invested a ton of money, and the mountain is way safer than it used to be. So it's really good to see that they've stepped it up for the community and invested a lot of money into that. Ski patrol is not necessarily there during all hours. At least it didn't used to be. The new ownership says that there should be 1 to 2 ski patrollers there during the day whenever mountains open. I don't know if that's the case, but be prepared that there may not be a ski patroller there. They do have an evacuation sled in the patrol room that's at the bottom of the mountain. They have 4 lift evacuation kits that are in there as well. Those are not for us to use, either of those things, but just good to know things. Be aware, especially seeing how they may not always have ski patrollers on duty, or maybe one, that someone may call 911 from the mountain and the employees, including the ski patrol, don't even know that there's an emergency. So you may show up there and no one comes to meet you because no one has been able to let them know that there's an issue. So just be prepared for that. Listen to the ski patrollers, though. Listen to the operations workers. They have the best equipment to get people off the mountain between the sled and the snowmobiles. We really shouldn't have to bring up our side by side or any of that stuff to get people off the mountain. They've got all the stuff that you need to do that, and it's really their responsibility. But always bring your cold gear. This PowerPoint was done back before we had gear in the ambulance, but make sure you may show up for a broken arm and end up the person's halfway up the mountain, and you got to ride on the snowmobile to go make patient contact. So just be prepared when you get there, and if you need to call for help, call for help. So the ski patrollers and most operations guys or women have been trained on chairlift evacuations and the procedures, so we shouldn't really have to get into that, although I do cover it in this PowerPoint, just so you know the procedure in case you are involved in it by watching it or just assisting or something like that. But it's something that they're going to do. It works really well, but it doesn't really fit NFPA and our standards. So first order of business, the bridge. There's been a lot of talk about the bridge lately. The bridge, as you can see, this is the parking area looking back to Route 9. They've done a lot of work underneath it, reinforcing it. However, they've also put a lot of Jersey barriers on top of it, which are heavy. There's like 12 Jersey barriers on top of it. Now, according to the ownership or the management, they said the guardrails here were not rated for a car. So if a car, as you know, like if a car slid into the guardrail, it would end up in the river, which is not good. So that's why they had to put the Jersey barriers there. However, the Jersey barriers have created a lot of wonder about what the bridge is actually rated for with that weight on it. They claim it's rated for it. They're going to get us a certificate. We don't know at this time, as of January 26th, 2023, what it's rated for. So as of right now, we don't drive over the bridge for anything. No ambulances, no fire trucks, nothing. Hopefully we can get a stamp certificate so that we can drive over there, at least with the ambulance, but as of right now, that is not the case. And as Dave Osgood could tell you, you don't want to drive over that bridge if it's not rated for your apparatus. Multiple operations. So this is again the map of Granite Gorge, and coming over on the bridge, there is the main lift that goes up here. As I said, top station be one person, two people loading down here. There is the bunny hill over here, which has a handle tow. There'll be an operator down here. This is also the terrain park, so lots of jumps and rails and stuff like that for snowboarders and skiers. Tubing hill, which we end up having a lot of injuries over here. There's a carpet, an operator at the top, and then the bunny hill over here, which is for beginners over here on the right. Let's see. So lift evacuations. Again, this is something we should get into, or should be doing, but it's good to know some of the stuff about this. So the chairlift has approximately 40 chairs on it, which means half of them, the ones on the way up the mountain, could be loaded with two people on each of them. So that's 40 people. The biggest risk of the chairlift breaking down isn't people falling out of it, although, I mean, it happens. It's happened up there. But the biggest risk is hypothermia. And you could end up with 40 people that are hypothermic because if you plan on 10 minutes for each chair to get unloaded and 20 chairs, that's like 3.5 hours. Even with all four kits in operation, by the time they try and fix the chairlift and realize they can't fix it, get the people up there to start evacuating people, you're talking 2 hours. And if it's 10 degrees out, that's not a good situation. So you may need multiple ambulances for people with hypothermia, maybe not even transporting them, maybe just treating them. But it could potentially turn into an MCI up there. So that's why you'll see in a minute why they evacuate things differently because it's got to be quick. But again, that doesn't fit our standards. So some of the members here have been trained, including myself, who has actually evacuated the lift before. It's really, really easy, but it doesn't meet NFPA guidelines. And as soon as we get there, we are under NFPA guidelines. So we do not do lift evacuations the way they do them. But they should have enough equipment and enough people to be able to do that, and we can just treat the patients as needed. Um, and this is what the lift evacuation kit looks like. Uh, it's just a bag, and inside is a seat, which is another slide coming up in a minute with some of the parts. But there's a baseball that you throw over the line. You haul up 150 feet of heavy duty string to pull the rope up, and then an edge protector. And then there's an evacuator seat that you haul up to the person. You have a hasty harness that you put on, and then you lower the person, you belay the person down from the chairlift. It's really simple, but it can look a little sketchy to some people. This is the seat that they sit on here, and they put the rope around their waist. And this is the edge protection I was talking about that you haul up over so that the rope doesn't get abraded going over the cable. Let's see. I don't think I can get this video to work. Oh, maybe I can. I'm really not good with this. Let's give it a second. All right, so here's the video I was talking about. Let's give this a play. You'll see it's super low. The lift's low to the ground, but it gives you this is a training episode or a training scenario for some mountain. And they've thrown the rope over, now they're thrown the string over, now they're hauling the rope up to get over the line. And you'll see them, there's an edge protector right here, just getting ready to get hauled up. It's the bag. They're gonna haul up the edge protector over the rope or over the cable. I'm an excellent narrator, aren't I? As you can see, you heard that little clink, or maybe not. I don't think there's any sound for this video for you guys actually, but they just pulled the line saver up and over. they're doing training here and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people here or 8 people here. You might have one or I've done it by myself with just one person to do all this. You can literally do it with just one person. Ideally, it's 2 people that do the evacuation. See that little hook that they're hauling up there? That's the seat they're going to sit on. Communicating with the people in the chair, letting them know what you're doing, what they're going through, asking them how they are, and just guiding them through something that's probably a little scary for them. Maybe a lot scary. Maybe a kid. So they're going to haul that seat up to them. Person's going to grab it and sit on it. And there's a rope that they put around their waist. And then they just scooch off the edge of the chair and you belay them down. I don't know that it's standard, but I would probably recommend they drop their skis before they do this. It's that simple. That person's just got a belay. Looks like they don't even have a harness on, but the proper kit has a harness with it. All right, moving on to good to know things. So the main lift at the base of it, where the loading station is, directly behind where you load, there is a 27,000 pound counterweight, big, huge concrete block in there that's held up with a block and tackle. That is the tensioner for the lift line. I don't think you'll ever have an issue in there. However, as you can see, someone's in there working on it right now, and there's some pinch points in there. There's a lot of hazards in there. So just a good to know is there's a huge counterweight inside that building directly behind the lift. Um, Pump house. There is some confined space in the pump house. So here's the bridge that we were talking about driving over. So on the mountainside of the bridge, there's a little tiny, it looks like a chapel. And inside this pump house, it's actually three stories. This floor up here, which is pretty open except for the motor heads, and then there's 2 huge pumps, impellers that go down. This is actually the second floor. You can see the casing where the impeller or the shaft goes down, and then it goes way through to the third floor, which is the level of the river, which is completely full of water, where they pump the water up from like a cistern up to mountain. But there is some confined space in there, and they claim they don't do any maintenance in there. They hire someone else to do it. But again, good to know. Power disconnects for it, and they do go in there a lot to start up snowmaking, but they don't do any maintenance down below the first level, they claim. Um, Above the wheel on the main lift. The main lift has got a huge motor that obviously spins. It's electric. It spins the chairlift up and down the mountain. And if something goes wrong with that, if they lose power, if something shorts out with it, they have to start up this diesel generator and then manually put a chain on it to spin the chairlift to get people unloaded. If that doesn't work, that's when you have to lift evac with the seats that we just watched. But it is a process. So the first thing they're going to do if the lift breaks is try and unload it like this. So it can take a while to even get to the point where you're going to evacuate with those seats. So it can take some time. Uh, Final thoughts on the mountain. The mountain's got a lot of electricity all over it, from lighting to snowmaking to music on the mountain. There's the lift, all this stuff with some high powered stuff. So there's multiple disconnects all over the place. And if you go over the bridge, the little chapel is on the right where the pump house is, and on the left, right over the bridge, is a meter. Um, the pump station runs water all the way up the mountain, all the way to the top. So if someday you have a brush fire up there, it only takes 5 minutes if you get someone to fire up the pump to get water all the way to the top. And they have hoses. They don't have nozzles, but they do have hoses, so it could be useful for us. Again, the bridge has been reinforced. We don't quite have a load rating yet. There's a dry hydrant on the far side of the bridge. Again, you'd have to get over it. Um, uh, to end up using the dry hydrant. A good idea, maybe just dropping suction on the other side of the bridge so you don't drive over it, and then run a 4-inch line with a manifold over to do fire ups on the other side. There is a Knox box on the building. Currently, again, as of today, they are working on updating the keys in it, so that should be done soon. There's a wet sprinkler system inside the lodge that actually is annually maintained right now. It's in good working order. And the fire alarm system has a dialer in the building, so you may go up there for a fire alarm in the middle of the night. Dispatch does have all the key holders on file. They'll be in the CAD. If you look under RMS info, all the info will be there. And there's a nice lodge up there and a bar. It's called the Roxbury Lounge, aptly named because remember, this is in Roxbury, not in Keene. So have fun responding up to the Granite Gorge and stay safe and stay warm.